It's Saturday, July 8th, 2023. A few things I want to share with all of you today. Just printed up some articles this morning. Please make sure to like this video. The best way to support the channel is by subscribing and sharing these videos. So make sure that you share these videos all over your social media. Make sure you subscribe, hit that bell notification down below. But without further ado, let's get right into it. And this is one that I've been watching quite a bit the last 24 hours on the news. Many of you have probably seen this or heard about this. Forever chemicals in at least 45% of U.S. tap water, USGS study. You know, we've been talking about for years about preparation. In fact, probably 3-4 years ago when I was out on Aaron's ranch in Texas, we were talking about water filtration systems such as Berkey's. And I think it's very, very important right now to make sure that you have a water filtration system. It could be a Berkey. Now, I've heard some questionable things lately about Berkey, and there's probably some better ones out there. If you know of some really, really good water filtration systems that are reasonably priced, please comment down below. I would love to know your thoughts on this, because I'm looking probably for an additional water filtration, as we have a couple Berkeys here. But what's better? Is there something better that's reasonably priced than a Berkey? Let me know. But you need a water filtration system. It says here, these chemicals, also referred to as PFAS, are invisible man-made chemicals. High levels have been linked to adverse health issues, such as including various cancers, reproductive issues, adverse effects on immune function. So I think that basically we're being told that half the country's drinking water is poisonous, and you probably shouldn't be drinking it. You need to be filtering your water. Some people will say, well, drink bottled water. Okay, how safe and how healthy is bottled water that's sitting in a plastic bottle? Where is it coming from? I know that, I think it's Nestle, correct me if I'm wrong, Nestle gets their water out of Lake Michigan. Obviously they filtrate it, but you know, how safe is it? How clean is it? Where's your water coming from? How safe is drinking out of a plastic bottle that's been sitting around for God knows how long? So let me know your thoughts. Any ideas on how we can be drinking better, safer, cleaner water? What's a filtration system that you like, that you use? Maybe what's a good bottled water that you feel is safe? Let me know what you think about this. Here's another one. Many Americans fear a recession as severe as 2008 could be coming. You know, I still can't believe there's so many people out there, especially these economists, that believe that we're still heading towards a recession. By the time they admit we're in a recession, we will be in a full-blown depression. Forget about what the experts say. Think about what's happening in your world right now. What's happening every time you go to the grocery store? What's happening when you're paying your utility bills? What's happening when you're paying the rent, the mortgage, health insurance, auto insurance? Do you think that we're heading towards a recession, or are we in a recession right now? Somebody wrote the other day, they said, I don't know what inflation is, because when I go to the grocery store, and last week when I reported that when I went to the store, prices were higher than ever. So I guess I don't know what inflation is when I open up my wallet and I have to spend more dollars to get less. To get less in a package, to get less hamburger, to get less beef. I'm paying more, I'm getting less. So I guess I don't know what inflation is. So maybe that person can explain to all of us what inflation is. But to me, it's when I open up my wallet and I have to spend more for the same or less. And I'm spending more and getting less. You notice, if you go to the grocery store and you spend $200 on groceries, it's not like $200 a couple years ago. It's shocking what just a couple bags of groceries cost right now. But you're paying the bills every month. You know what the costs are. When you hire a service, that service typically is more than it was a year ago, more than it was 2 years ago, more than it was 3 years ago. So I think we all know what inflation is. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out what inflation is. That's for sure. New York Times. Yellen in Beijing criticizes China's treatment of U.S. companies. Treasury Secretary, it says, Janet Yellen laid bare those concerns on Friday by leveling a forceful objection in Beijing to punitive measures the Chinese government has taken against foreign firms. It goes on to say, surrounded by executives from some of the most powerful American companies, Ms. Yellen criticized the Chinese government's harsh treatment of companies and its decision to impose controls on certain critical minerals. She suggested that such actions justified the Biden administration's efforts to make U.S. manufacturers less reliant on China. Isn't it now a little too late for that? We are so dependent and reliant on China right now, and now all of a sudden, Janet Yellen has come to the conclusion that we need to be less reliant on China. What do you think China was thinking when Janet Yellen was over there criticizing them? Do you think they even care? Now, no offense to Janet Yellen. I'm sure she's a very nice lady. I don't know her personally. I think she's misguided a lot of this country. I think she's been very wrong about the economy. In fact, I think she really doesn't know what she's doing. But don't you think they look at Janet Yellen over there in Beijing and just shake their heads? Do you think they're really scared of Janet Yellen? Do you think they're intimidated by what Janet Yellen is saying? Do you think they're going to do anything to change the course that they're on right now because of what Janet Yellen said? She doesn't look like an imposing figure to me. I don't think that we have much leverage as a country right now to have any kind of say-so with China. I think China is going to say what's going to happen, not America. I don't think that China is intimidated by America. We've allowed so much industry, so many of our corporations, manufacturing, technology over to China that at some point, China's not really going to need the U.S. and most of the world is not going to need the U.S. The world is moving on. When you look at China and India alone, there's literally 3 billion people just in those two countries. Literally half the world's population is sitting in China and India. And people that think that the BRICS Plus is not going to be a threat to your standard of living or to the standard of living of most Americans, I hope Americans wake up and begin to realize what is happening. There's going to be a new payment system. There's going to be new currencies. There's going to be a new way of life. And many people around the world, many countries around the world, cannot wait to get away from a weaponized dollar, a dollar that we print out of thin air to pay for products made by other countries where people actually have to physically work to make these products, and we just print this money up and send it over to them, and they have to take it because that's the only way they can trade. That's the only way they can buy oil. Don't you think that when BRICS Plus begins to really gain some traction, that most of the world, if not all the world, is going to go towards the BRICS? Without a doubt. Without a doubt. A currency backed by something other than war, other than a promise, other than a money printing machine, it's going to be over for the US dollar. Now, it doesn't mean that it's going to be completely phased out. It probably will exist for decades to come, but it's going to be literally a third world currency. So pay attention to what's happening with the Shanghai Exchange, what's happening with gold, what's happening with Russia, China, Saudi Arabia, India, and all these BRICS Plus nations, even Mexico, France. It's fascinating the moves that are being played behind the scenes right now. While most people are probably going to a Dave & Buster's and watching a baseball game and wasting their time, they have no idea what is coming, what is lurking. And I was watching a show the other night. I forgot the gentleman's name. Very bright individual. He claims that China now has over 50,000 tons of physical gold. And we know that the central banks keep stockpiling gold. What do they know? What does China know? Why are they collecting and stockpiling all the shiny yellow stuff? And why are the central banks continuing to stockpile all of this shiny yellow metal? What do they know that the average American at Dave & Buster's does not know? Another article today coming from Politico. China dominates the rare earth market. Somebody wrote me the other day and said, JB, you have no idea what you're talking about. Don't you know that most of the rare earth minerals are in Latin America? And I replied to that gentleman and sent him an article. Don't you know that China is in Latin America mining all these rare earth minerals. In fact, they're all over the world. They're in Afghanistan, they're in Africa, they're all over Latin America. They are mining all these rare earth minerals all over the world, many, many countries. And to that individual, please do your homework. It is not us. We're going to be reliant on these minerals, but guess who's mining these minerals all over the world? Yes, it is China. They're mining the cobalt, they're mining the lithium, they're mining everything necessary for this EV market that they keep telling us we have to have. But remember, you're going to have to create more electricity. You're going to have to mine more earth to create power here in America to run electricity in order to charge these cars up. So I don't understand it. We're so opposed about mining and destroying the environment, but think about how much mining we're going to have to do to create all this electricity, and how much mining we're going to have to do to create the batteries for these cars all over the world, in Latin America, in Afghanistan, in Africa, just destroying the world for these minerals for these cars. Right here on the Blaze, electric F-150 loses 25% of range with full payload, AAA study finds. Gas version can drive 200 miles further. So if your EV breaks down, how easy is it to fix? How easy is it to get parts versus your gas-operated F-150 Ford? What's the life duration of one of these electric vehicles? Nobody has told me that, but maybe you get 200,000 miles if you're lucky off a F-150. You're gonna get 200,000 miles off a battery operated vehicle. That I don't know. Comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. What's the longevity of these batteries and these vehicles versus a gas engine? But think about 200 miles further and losing 25% of range with a full payload. So what's the point of driving an EV when you're giving up that much range when you have a truck loaded, when you have a payload on that truck? That's going to be even more costly because you're going to have to charge it even more. What's your time worth while the truck is charging? And again, what's the longevity of these batteries? So very interesting. But personally speaking, I'm not going to be looking at buying an EV anytime soon. I think most Americans are not. I think they're extremely overpriced. And I think we're going to pay a very, very big price at the end of the day to tear up half the world for these minerals and produce so much electricity. Right here in California, it's getting very, very hot now. Before you know it, we'll have brownouts or blackouts. So they'll be telling us to, use less power in the late afternoon. Yet they want everybody to drive an electric vehicle. Our power grid here in California right now is so fragile that we've had our power shut off last year multiple times for a few hours. But if the power grid cannot even handle what it's handling right now, barely, how are we going to handle millions of more people in California driving electric vehicles? Where's the power going to come from, and how costly is this going to be environmentally and economically? Here's another one from the Hedge today. Jobs data highlights more recessionary behavior. Employees continue to cut back on temporary employment. This is another typical sign of a recession coming. Temp help fell again in June and has been contracting for several months. Another sign of recession. Firms are cutting hours. Another sign of recession. Comment down below. Do you know anybody, or maybe even yourself? Have you got your hours cut? Have you lost a job? Do you know somebody that's lost a job or had their hours cut? Let us know your thoughts, what you see, what you're hearing out there. I think everybody knows somebody now that has lost a job or has had their hours cut. Another article today from The Hedge. These are the healthiest and unhealthiest countries in the world. So based on health access to healthcare, health outcomes, health systems, risk factors, mortality rates, America ranks 69 in the world. Singapore ranks number 1, Japan number 2, South Korea number 3, Taiwan number 4, and Israel number 5. So here we are, the wealthiest, so-called wealthiest nation on planet Earth, and we rank at 69. And it's going to fall much more. This country is falling apart, ladies and gentlemen. You look at the vacancies. In fact, we were out last night in South Palm Springs running some errands. And you just see more and more homeless people in downtown Palm Springs or South Palm Springs. They're everywhere. And I noticed right off Highway 111, there are now taco stands on the sidewalk right behind a Walgreens, right on the sidewalk, right off Highway 111, right behind a Walgreens, taco stands. Now, I don't get how they can get away with this, and I've noticed this in other areas, and another taco stand that's on another sidewalk on Gene Autry. These places don't have permits. It's 110 degrees outside, and they're cooking pork and carne asada and whatever under a tent. So I don't get how they can get away with this. But, you know, I look at what's happening, and I've seen multiple taco stands. And look, that's, you know, I commend the side hustle. I commend people out there working. But I know people in the restaurant business that own restaurants that are absolutely PO'd because, you know, they've got to pay for insurance. They've got health codes. They've got this. They've got inspections. They've got to do everything perfect, or they'll get shut down, or they'll get fined. And these people just put some meat in a cooler and start setting up under a tent at 5 o'clock in the afternoon and not paying any taxes, not paying nothing. And I would be upset as a restaurant owner myself, especially, you know, people that I know that have Mexican restaurants and, you know, taco restaurants. They're upset, and they should be. They should be. But this is going on right now, and it just begins to look more and more like a third world country where people just set up tents and start cooking food on a public sidewalk, and you see homeless people walking all over the place. In Palm Springs, California, ladies and gentlemen, it's absolutely appalling watching what is happening in my area, what's happening in my state, and what's happening all over America. Are you seeing anything like this in your areas where people are just popping up tents or serving food out of a van? I've never seen this ever in my area. And now in the last 6 months, 8 months maybe, it is becoming very normal. Another article today, and this is really tragic. Man who was an interpreter for U.S. in Afghanistan, killed in D.C. working as a Lyft driver. He was a interpreter for our military for 10 years, comes to D.C., I think, what, 2 to 3 years ago, hustling as a Lyft driver, trying to live the American dream, and 4 dirtbags, demonic demons, 4 of them, running away after they had killed this gentleman, Lyft driver. They apparently robbed him and took off. This is what it's coming to. This is what it's coming to, ladies and gentlemen. You know, so many people can warn us about the recession, warn us about housing prices and housing shortages and housing collapses, and it's all real, it's all happening. But you know, at some point, who cares about what's happening? You better start caring about what's happening socially, because the biggest threat to you is not going to be a collapsing housing market. The biggest collapse to you is not going to be the commercial real estate market collapsing. The biggest threat to you and I is going to be the social fallout that this economy is producing. When 4 pieces of garbage go and rob a Lyft driver who served this country, who seemed to be a very good man, a family man, hustling as a Lyft driver, and coming from a very violent place, comes to America a couple years ago, and his life's already taken. Sad. So to that gentleman, my prayers to you, your family, rest in peace. I hope the people that did this to you burn in hell. Just absolutely disgusting. Just another repulsive act of people here in America that have no respect for human life. We just talked about this. No respect for law, no respect for human life, no respect for this country, no respect for themselves, nothing. And, you know, what did this guy have on him? Maybe $100? They took his life. Now his wife does not have a husband. His kids don't have a father. All for what, $100? Whatever. Maybe it wasn't even that much. Disgusting, it really is. But this is what's happening in America, and you better be preparing. This is why I tell people, you better have a plan, you better have defensive skills, you better have security, you better know how to use that security, you better be exercising situational awareness. This is going to get really bad, ladies and gentlemen, and this is during stable times. Wait till it gets much worse, what we're going to see. I can't even believe what we're seeing right now. I was watching the news a little while ago, and some of the crime that just took place last night in New York and this morning, it's just unbelievable how sadistic human beings can be to other human beings. I'm going to wrap it up on a good note here. 97% of pet owners say their animals are part of the family. It's very hot out. It's probably about 105 here today. Not hot for us, but it's been very, very hot in the Midwest, in the South. And make sure that you're taking care of your pets, that you're not leaving them out in this heat. Make sure you do not leave your dog in the car. Make sure that your dogs and cats have plenty of water, that they're eating well. Make sure to take care of them because they are members of the family. No doubt about that. And I know somebody's going to write me and criticize me that, you know, my dogs, my cats are not part of the family. Well, this is my family, and I can include anything and anybody I want into my family. Our dogs, our cats, even our tortoises, which are getting huge, are part of this family, and they always will be. And thank God we still have some good people out there that respect their animals. And again, as a reminder, make sure that you're feeding them, that they're watered, that they're staying cool, because these temperatures across America are very, very hot. And, you know, pets, they got fur coats and they can't talk. So make sure you're taking care of them, and also make sure you're putting food away for them, because as this thing continues, this economy continues to go down a very dark road, it may get difficult to get food for them. We've seen runs before, shortages on dog food, cat food. And so make sure you're putting something away for them too, because you never know that one day we wake up to a cyber attack, we wake up to a grid down, whatever the case may be. Maybe the ATMs, maybe the debit cards aren't working. You can't purchase this stuff. So make sure you have some emergency food put away for them, like you do for you and your family. And make sure that you're watching out for them during this heat wave this summer. God bless all of you. Have a wonderful weekend. Keep preparing. Take a few minutes this weekend and go out and prepare. And continue to pray for this country. And I want to thank every one of you for supporting this channel. All the great letters, all the prayers, all the support. None of this is possible without you. God bless each and every one of you. Have a great day.